Looks like we live. Let me just fix some things so I can see. All right, hello. So, me. Oh, this is what I wanted to look at before. All right. Actually, I don't want to see this. I want to hide you. Thank you. Oh, so great. Okay, so I haven't made my overlay fancy yet or anything. I haven't done anything fun. Um, and I just felt like um, continuing with my spinning because that's fun. You know what? Yeah, I used to have a Be Right Back screen and everything, and I don't have anything. So I'm gonna have to make a BRB screen. But anywho, so one of the things I wanted to show is so I mentioned the other day that I had a couple of things on my bobbins that I was trying to clear off. So one was full of this Icelandic wool that I had gotten from um, a fleece that I purchased from a guy up in Hancock, which is in the upper peninsula. And then the second is Corriedale, which from a Corriedale cross that I purchased. I don't know. I think actually my husband got it for me £1 on Amazon. And so I actually just decided to put the two together. And I'll show you how it turned out. This is what it looks like. Can you see? Come on. Focus. There we go. I think it looks really great actually. It's I would call it super lightweight because they were both spun pretty thin. I'm trying to find one strand of it. Here you go. I don't know if you could see that. So the pure white is the Corriedale, and then the kind of hairy fuzzy one is the Icelandic. But it came out really nice. So, I mean, you too could learn how to make yarn. So, this is all I have of it. Is it enough to make anything? I don't know. I might be able to make a short cowl with it or something. Um, I don't know. It smells really good too. Anyway, I love how sheep smell. Um, and then these are just, I used some excess yarn to tie it. But so this is all processed. It's not coming apart. It's going to be together forever, and I will use this at some point. I did go to Michael's today though and bought some RIT, which is fabric, just regular fabric dye. I might go ahead and try to dye this because even though some of it is gray, it'll over dye fine, and I'll just get some um, different versions of the colors. I just don't know what color to make it. Maybe I'll make a teal or something. So, yeah. All right. So, the other thing I wanted to do today is because that yarn is done, it means my nitty knotty is free. So, I'm going to take the yarn that I did the other day, which were the samples from Ashford when I got the wheel. And this is the yarn that I made from the samples from Ashford. Again, I had 1 ounce of each kind of wool, an orange and a white, 100% merino. It was real fun to spin. it's not enough yarn to do anything with. But it does have to be processed if I'm going to use it for anything, so I thought I would do that on stream. So the first thing I have to do is get it onto my Nitty Knotty. So I'll put it on my Lazy Kate. Now some people have like fancy schmancy things that they can turn to actually get it straight off the bobbin when it's still on the wheel. I don't have anything like that because everything that you buy for processing wool is expensive, like hella expensive. Um, Even Nitty Knotties are expensive unless you build your own, and that's what I did. So I actually just went to the hardware store and got some PVC pipe. Um, we cut it to a few different lengths and then got these ends. It's got, I gotta get some Goo Gone on the ends here, but, and this is it. Having a hard time. There, you can see it in the upper picture. See, it's just a eye shape. So, what I'm gonna do is take the end of my yarn that is not, it's not going to come apart, but it still needs to be washed just to sort of cure it, to make sure it stays in place. So let me turn a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to tie this on here, and I'm going to start, well, first thing I got to do is I got to turn it 90 degrees. And then I'm going to start wrapping it. So I'm going to wrap over and under and over and under. And then come back over. You guys can't see this at all, can you? Under, over, under. And so let me, there we go. So you can see what I'm doing. So this just stretches out the yarn and keeps it organized and turns it into a hank, basically, which then you can spin up into a ball or into a cake or something, however you like your yarn accessible. Ooh, we're getting, there we go, caught up. So you just go around and around and around, and then every now and then I give it a little nudge just to push it over. You also don't have to do it super tight. It keeps on getting bound up on my Lazy Kate there. Around and around and around again. Come on, dude, what are you doing? Where was I? It keeps getting wrapped around. There we go. I know why. I don't have this behind me enough. There we go. That should be better. This doesn't take long at all. It looks kind of tedious, but it's not so bad. Now, if you were more scientific than I was, you can actually use this, the Nitty Knotty, to measure out exactly how much yarn you have in terms of length. So you would just multiply, I mean, I could do it right now if I wanted to. So what I would do is count the number of times I've wrapped it around and then multiply it by 4. And then it'll give me a rough estimate of the length, um, using the length of the nitty nutty. So I have no idea how long this one is because we didn't, I don't know, maybe it's 6 inches. And then you can convert it to yards or whatever. And then that's helpful so that you can figure out how much you have so that you can complete a project. And I'm done. I'm already at the end. So I have a kitten who wants in here really badly, but he's not allowed in. I don't know if you can see him. There he is. See? Oh, is he going away? Kitty! His name's Severus, and he's new to the family. Anyway. Hello. Whoa, 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 what are we doing? Everything's messed up now. Eh. There we go. All right, so I need my scissors. So I just tie this again at the end. I'm actually just gonna tie it up here. I'm gonna tie it around. We'll go this way. What is the best way? I'll just tie it to this, because then I can slide it off when I'm done. Tie it like that. Cool. So then what I have to do is secure it. So I need a few lengths of just scrap yarn. And I've been using this cotton stuff, mostly because it's non-reactive. If I do, and well, this I'm not going to end up dyeing, but, and I want it to be in a different color so that I can find it later and get rid of it. So I'm going to cut 4 lengths because there are 4 lengths on the nitty nutty. Nitty nutty. And then basically, I'm just going to go through here and do like a figure 8. So I like to divide this into 3s. And what this does is it's going to keep the yarn nice and organized when I turn it into a hank. So I'm separating it into 3 pieces. And then I'm going to go under, over, under this way. And then wrap it around this last one here. Go back through, over, under, over. And then I'm going to tie that off. So probably you've seen this when you buy yarn in hanks from the yarn store. And then these are the bits that you have to cut off, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. And it'll keep everything, whoops, nice and tidy. Just do this on all 4 sides. Yeah, this is not a ton of yarn at all. I don't know what I'm going to use this for. It's pretty though. Last one. Okay. All right, all done. So now the nice thing about the Nitty Knotty is that it spins, it turns. So I can turn it back 90 degrees. Everything is all stretched out. See, the yarn is nice and stretched out. Um, it is not going to tangle now, and I can wash it. So what I'm going to do, I won't do it right now, but later on, is I'll take it upstairs and I'll throw it in the bathtub with the hottest water that'll come out of the tap. Sometimes I might add a little bit of nice smelling shampoo to it. You don't have to, but it just makes it smell nice. And I'm going to set something heavy on top of it, a rock or something, um, and it will hold it underwater, and I'm just going to forget about it. And you have to leave it in for at least a half hour. I usually just leave it in until the water cools down all the way. And what that does is to make the two singles of the plied yarn hang together better. And so that yarn will never come apart again. It'll be nice and together. It also helps it to stretch out, and if you have any bits that are still twisty or kinky, um, that will help to get rid of that and finish the yarn. And so then all you have to do is take it off the Nitty Knotty, and it'll be in a big loop. And I put it on a hanger. You know the kind of hangers that have like the notches in it, so that you can set your tops on it. I just put it around those, and then take a couple other hangers and put those on the bottom, and that'll stretch it out. Hang it up for a day, it'll dry, and then once I'm done with that, I wind up my hank, and then I end up with something like this, what we're used to seeing, right? So then this, um, I could take it apart. I won't do that right now, but I can then, wind this into a ball or something using my ball winder, and use it for a project. So, again, like I said, this isn't even enough yarn to make a hat out of. I don't think. Maybe small hat. We'll see. But anyway, there we go. So I just kind of wanted to show you what I had going on there. And then all I'm planning on doing the rest of the time today is continuing with the Corriedale cross that I have. And yeah, but if you will excuse me, I'm going to run upstairs and get a drink, and I'll be right back. So, hold on 1 minute. Okay, well that was exciting. So sorry I was gone so long. Um, so what happened was I went upstairs to go get a drink, and it smelled like cat shit. And it turns out our Roomba, our little robot vacuum cleaner, had picked up some cat poop and was just riding around the house with it, making it smell like poop. So that's cool. That's real cool. Doesn't smell like poop down here though, so I'm just gonna stay down here. Okay. Stuff got a little bit shifted around here, so I'll try getting back to where I was. Okay, so I decided what I was going to do instead of splitting all this up ahead of time was to just take little bits off of my big piece here. So I'm just going to keep this close to me, and there we go. I think you can see that okay. So I need to come a little closer. I have the stupid screen mirrored. There we go. Anyway, so if I wanted, I could draft this out a little bit. Just pull on it a little bit to make it a little bit spread out. And I have my active end over here. I can actually move this a bit closer to me. I'm going to move it up. Actually, I don't need to be that close. There we go. All right. Okay, get that going. Get the new stuff attached. And then we start drafting out. Again, we want fast hands and slow feet. Fast hands, slow feet. And I'm trying not to make it so thin because I have a tendency to really make thin yarn. So I wanted this to be a little bit thicker. So my goal is just to spin up all of this Corriedale I have. And I might try to make a 3-ply yarn. And then I think what I'm going to do is order some more roving that's been dyed already, so that I can make some interesting color variations. So you can dye the wool at any point. Like you can dye the roving. I don't know how they do that, really. I guess it would be part of when you're washing it. But you can dye the roving, and you can dye the yarn after it's been spun, or you can knit up whatever it is you're going to make and then dye the garment. It works whatever way you want to do it. It's had a pretty boring day today. What did I do today? I don't even know. Oh, I got up kind of late. That's right. And then discovered that someone had peed downstairs. So I cleaned that up, fed the dogs, fed the cats and gave them their medicine. One of the cats then came upstairs and promptly puked up all their food. Had to clean up that after the kittens started eating it. So then I had my coffee and my breakfast. And then my daughter and I volunteer over at the Ingham County Animal Shelter. So we went over there for about an hour and hung with the puppies and kitties. And they have about a gazillion cats right now. In fact, they have so many cats and kittens that, just to put in a little plug for them, the cost of adoption. The adoption fees have been reduced. So it's $20 for kittens. I think it's usually 50. Is that right? 10 for, I think I'm getting this wrong. Maybe it's $30 for kittens, 10 for, or 20 for adult cats, and 10 for elderly cats. And I mean, they're just doing that because, you know, it's difficult to get elderly cats, especially adopted. Okay, that's gonna want to fall. So we got something funky going on here. I'm not really worried about it too much. It'll get covered up as I'm going. So, hey, it's Steve. 20 cats for $1? I don't think it's that. I would like to adopt them all. Hey, oh baby, and more. Something just happened. Oh, we got a message. Hello? Zach was trying to send me a message, I think. Sounds like it was a mistake. All right. So I'm going to tie this off for a second and then take off another piece. Whee! And I already moved this down to the thing. So Steve, Zach's actually considering adopting another kitten, for the kitten. Cat needs cat. But yeah, I don't see why we can't adopt them all. Why can't we just adopt them all? All the kitties need homes. Though there's a puppy named Sprout that is currently there, and we feel bad because Sprout has been there for a very long time. And I badly want somebody to adopt Sprout. She's a very nice puppy. And I don't know why nobody has shown interest in adopting her yet. But it does make you sad that you can't just adopt them all. Okay. Now I remember why I usually separate these to begin with. So actually what I'm going to do is take a slightly larger piece and then pre-draft it, which means I'm going to pull it out. So I'll explain something here. So you see, if I have my hands close together and I pull and I can't pull it apart, that's because my hands are closer together than the staple length. So the staple length is the amount of overlap in the fiber. And so the Corriedale has a bit longer in fiber, so they have like 3 to 4 inch fiber length in their coat. So even out here, you see, I'm having a hard time pulling it. So if I bring my hands far apart, beyond the staple length, I can actually do this, is draft it out, and you can see the fibers slide apart. And that will allow me to, it won't be so bulky when I go to spin it. So I'm just gonna do this a little bit all the way through here. So we want it to still hang together, but just not be so compact. at the end, and I'm going to go back and do it a little bit more. This is called pre-drafting. So you keep drafting while you are spinning. And you could do a really long length of roving so that you can keep spinning and don't have to be interrupted to tear off another piece. But I usually go with these arm length pieces just because, I don't know, call them a weirdo. But you can see how long this is now. So I'm just going to drape that over there. And now I have yarn, not yarn, I have fibers all over my lap. And that's okay. Do I manually control the end weight of the yarn while spinning? Yes. So if you want very fine yarn, you draft it out a lot so that there isn't much fiber. So you could see if I take it right now and I spun it, it would be pretty thick, right? Pretty thick given that this is going to be plied. So, but if I wanted to, if you go to the end, see where it's kind of wispy and there's only just a few hairs. So if you were to draft it out that thin, I mean, and then spun it, look how thin that is. If you could gather enough dog hair, yes, I will absolutely make you yarn out of the dog hair. So you would just have to comb the dogs and put it in a bag. And I can absolutely, I'll just comb it out just like any other wool. Now what would work best is their undercoat. Yeah, that would actually work really well. So the undercoat would work really well. The guard hairs, the longer hairs, aren't going to work because they're too stiff, but that undercoat would work really well. I thought of actually shaving my cat because she's got a lot of very wispy hair, but I don't think she would like that very much. She's old too, and we don't need to stress her out. But yeah, if you gather some up, then I will absolutely spin it. That'd be fun. The Basset Hounds don't really produce enough undercoat to make it useful, but we do take them outside and brush them out and then give the birds their fur. So you can see I'm drafting it out, I'm pulling it, and if I wanted to make it even thinner, or yeah, I would just draft it out even more, but I'm trying not to make it too thin. Like I said, I just have a tendency to go really thin. So Zach and I and Moira went to the fair yesterday to the livestock auction because I wanted to see how it worked out. And because I don't really know where to buy sheep from. So here's what I learned. Most of the animals at the fair are being sold for food. They are market animals. They are not producers. And what I'm looking for are producers, not market animals. So the animals seem quite expensive because they auction them off per pound. So for instance, like the award winner, the grand champion steer that they had was almost 1,400 pounds. and he was auctioned off for $4 a pound. So that's like what? I don't know, math. 5,000 some dollars for that one animal. Clearly, I don't have the money to be spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on sheep. Um, so the almost all of the sheep that they had at the fair were the Suffolk breed, and you can use their wool, but so I have a book. It is the Encyclopedia of Wool, and so I was looking up um, Suffolk to see what's their deal. And it turns out that they are the most popular sheep breed in the United States because of they're raised for meat. So again, these guys were being sold per pound as market animals, and they take them straight to Marendorf Meats or wherever to get prepared. So what you're buying when you buy the animal is basically the meat. Well, I don't want meat animals. I want live animals that are going to be alive for a while, so that I can use their wool and also to hug and cuddle them. And so anyway, what my Encyclopedia of Wool told me was Suffolk sheep, and so if you don't know, they're the white ones with black faces and black ears. Have I watched Anne of All Trades? I haven't. I don't even know what that is. But my book at least says that their wool is treated as negligible because they are primarily meat sheep, but it says it's wonderful stuff if you can get it. So in theory, I could go to the fair. Quit trying to go, stupid thing. Um, See, this wants to go, so I'm just going to let it go. Come on. I need to stop spinning so that I can... There we go. Settle down there. What was I saying? Oh, in theory, I could buy one of those sheep, but they were going for like $400, $500 an animal. And I don't want to pay that much for an animal. Oh, really? Well, I have a YouTube channel. I just haven't posted anything to it yet. So anyway, that's pretty much all I learned from going to the fair and going to the livestock auction. So I came home a little bit discouraged, and then was like, well, then where the hell do I buy sheep? And what I found was that there is a Michigan sheep producers organization, and they have a directory of members. So I went on there and found people in the area who do sell sheep. Well, no, who have sheep. It is not clear to me whether they sell lambs or even adult sheep. It does tell you what products they sell. So I guess if I really want to know, I'm going to have to call them up. Yep, that's very much what I'm planning on doing. Does she have a lot of viewers, Steve? Like, is this a thing people are actually into watching? Holy shit, really? That's cool. Woodworking. I just bought my first set of woodworking knives. I don't think they're very good. They were like $13 on Amazon, but I bought them because I want to make the sign for the farm. So that you can actually find our house instead of blowing by it. Because we have a nondescript, really gross old mailbox with numbers that you can barely see. You have a thing. What thing? You have a thing? What are you talking about? You have a thing that makes signs? Yeah, but I want to do it by hand. Well, look, I still, you know, I have a logo, right? And I do need that put into, like, I'll probably make a smaller bitty sign that hangs off the bigger sign with the logo on it. And I daren't try to do that one by hand because I'll mess it up. But the my idea for the main for Lark Farm is to just have a picture of, you know, a lark that are flying. I already drew a sketch of it. So I bought sorry, I can't click on this right now. I'm a little bit CNC. What does CNC mean? Cut and crucify. What does it mean? Cut and carve? What is, tell me what it means. I'm gonna die if I don't know what it means. Computer numeric, that is not at all what I thought it was gonna be. Okay, so anyway, you got fancy stuff that can do stuff. So that's cool. Yeah, I'll have to, have you seen the Dr. Lark's Smart Organics logo? It's the little light bulb with the sheep in it. If you haven't, I'll have to show it to you at some point. I could show it to you on Monday. Yeah, so, but that's great that you can help. I use all the help I can get. Oh, hey, by the way, I also looked into um, registering an LLC today, and I gotta say that the government's website is not easy to understand at all. So what I came away with was I need to fill out some paperwork and pay some fee, um, and I'm just not at all clear on what paperwork that is. There was also something about getting a lawyer. So maybe we need to talk about that a little bit more. The government's website does suck. Um, I mean, before this, I used to use MDE, the Michigan Department of Education. You didn't hire a lawyer. Okay, well, that's good. I don't know why it's telling me I have to hire a lawyer. But yes, all the help would be very much appreciated, particularly because you guys have already gone through all this. Drafting, drafting. I don't know if I'm going to do the P.O. box because the idea is to make the detached garage a store as well as a classroom. So I kind of want people to know the address. But yeah, I can understand because Zach was telling me that you guys were having a lot of people mail you stuff for the pups. And I can imagine why you would want a little bit more privacy in that case. Right. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is when we were having the discussion about the sign, so I bought woodworking knives, but I also bought one of them wood burner doohickeys. So I want to combine the two in making the sign. So it'll be hand carved sign, and then I'll use the burner to make things stand out. Yeah. Zach and I were playing with it. It smells really nice when you're using it. Woo. And you know, the same thing goes with us. If we have anything that you want to play with or anything, you are more than welcome to borrow it. Can you hear the Roomba? It is rolling around up there and making all kinds of noise. Sounds like I heard a buffalo in my house. Oh, good. I'm glad that it's not picking up the sound of the Roomba. Were you here when I was explaining what happened upstairs? I went upstairs to go get a drink, and it smelled like cat poop. It's because the Roomba picked up a piece of cat poop that probably got stuck to Ruku's butt. I don't know. And it was just merrily trucking around the house with it, making everything smell like poop. Oh yes, this is a different story. Oh yeah, the robot had no idea it was carrying poop around, and if it didn't, it did not seem to mind. So yeah, it's too bad they don't have noses. They could have electronic noses. I do appreciate the Roomba though. I really do. Because it does cut down on the amount of vacuuming, which is good in a house with so many animals and so much hair. especially since we have a lot more hard floors now. All right, you beer. Is it your own beer that you made? Plain old beer, nothing fancy. So, speaking of fancy beer, we went over to the Big Ten store today and I got something from Shorts called Melt My Brain. It's got like coriander and juniper in it and stuff. I can't wait to try it. It's not quite cold enough yet, but it could be terrible. This is really thick at the end here. I suppose it is. I suppose you're right. Yeah, of course Zach bought the Oktoberfest stuff because that's already out. Shoo, 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 shoo. I'm getting hair all over my legs. Okay. Did I move this? I don't. I think I did. Okay. I guess it is already August. I feel like I didn't get much of a summer because of the moving and all. Though Zach and I did decide that, whoops. Okay. So, this was actually instructive. What just happened? Um, I don't know if you could see how thin that got. So, what's actually happening is as I'm spinning through this, it's getting pulled on to the bobbin. And if you're not watching and this gets too thin, it'll pull right apart and it'll just suck your yarn onto the bobbin. And it's actually been a long time since I've had a break, so I'm doing pretty good. So, not to worry, if it does get wrapped up around, you just try to find the end again and then just start over. So I take that wispy end and see I just connect it on there and it just grabs on and keeps going. And I try to pay more close attention to what I'm doing. I'm still making it too thin. It needs to not be so thin. Whatever. It's because I read this thing that said that like the best hand spinners can get something like 80 hanks of yarn from a pound of wool. 80. 80 hanks of yarn. 80. Is it ready to use? It could be. It depends on. So what I'm making right now is called a single. So it's just what it sounds like. It is a single strand of twisted wool. But most of the yarn that we use for projects is plied. And in fact, most of the stuff you buy from the store is 3, 4, 5, 6 ply. So if you were to, you know, twist it in the opposite direction that the yarn is naturally going, you'll see the smaller strands in there, and those are the plies. And that makes it a lot, see, I'm doing it again. It makes it a lot more sturdy, gives it a lot more strength and thickness. So you can use singles, but singles tend to be not to have as much stitch definition. So usually what you do is take a couple singles or 2 or 3 and ply them together. And I did some of that yesterday. I did a 2-ply yarn. And then once you've done that, let me show you, hold on a second. I'm just making it too thin. I gotta shut up. Wait, what? Okay, sorry. What is your question? I think I pre-drafted this out too much. It's getting too thin in spots. Okay, I will look at your question in a second. I'm almost to the end of this bit. What unit is a hank? I will show you in just a second. Okay. Okay, let me explain some things. Let me also get this extra yarn off my lap. Sorry, this is not yarn, this is wool. It's all over. So you can just take this stuff and ball it up and then throw it on the floor. Okay, so you've bought yarn from the store before. Let's see here. You're probably used to it coming in something like this, right? When you go to the store. This is called a skein, right? So, and this is, okay, so see how there's many colors? Yeah, so this is a skein. So if I go counter to the way that it wants to twist, Do you see all the different, uh, focus? Focus on me. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 ply. So each one of those 4 is a single, and they plied them together. So they spun each one the way that I'm spinning now, or actually, no, they didn't. They did it on a machine. And then they did something called plying, which is where you basically take all of those singles at the same time and then spin them in the opposite direction to make a thicker yarn. Okay, but each individual single is very, very thin, right? Anyway, so this is a skein. You can also buy it in something called a cake. So this is a cake. This also is what it looks like when it comes off of my yarn winder. So, and also you've probably seen balls of yarn too. So here is a not very round ball of yarn. So that's a skein, a cake, a yarn. Those are all what you do with the yarn after it's been in a hank. This is a hank. So this is yarn that I made yesterday. How many cakes to a hank? It depends. This hank is the amount from, because this is plied, so it's a 2-ply yarn. So this is Icelandic and Corriedale. And I'm just excited about this. Let me show you the difference between the Corriedale and the Icelandic. So this is the Corriedale. This is what I've been using, right? It's nice and floofy and nice. And then this is Icelandic. And Icelandic is exciting because they actually have 2 coats. So they have a nice woolly, dense undercoat, kind of like your dog's. And then they have a hairy outer coat. So you can actually either spin all this together, and you can actually spin it from the lock. This is one lock. Or you can separate it. And I have a couple of bags up here where I have actually I separated them. I actually bought an entire fleece from an Icelandic lamb when I was still living up at in Hancock. So okay, back to the hank. So this is a hank, and it comes. You've probably seen it in the store. You can buy it this way too, but usually only from the yarn boutiques. You usually don't find it in, you know, Michael's or Joann's or Walmart like this. It usually comes in a skein or a cake. But if you're gonna be getting a hand spun, it usually comes like this, right? So if I am to undo this guy, it turns into this, right? Can you see that? You see it in the little image up there? Yes, and I've heard about the one from Williamston now from you and other people. Um, so I need to get out there. But so this is a hank that is just hanging. This is what it looks like after I've taken it off the nitty knotty. Yes, hank is pre-cake. Um, and this is where you like use someone to help you so that you can wind it up. Yes, a cake is a pre-sweater, exactly. So I'm going to wind this back together. So this is pretty easy to do. You just go in opposite directions until it gets pretty tight, and then it'll twist in on itself, and then you do a thing and another thing, and then you have it back in its nice little, windy thing. What was I going to show you? So after you've plied your yarn and you take it off the bobbins, do I have the thing that the hanks go on to help you when you're using a winder? No, I don't have one of those because they're hella expensive. Eventually I'll probably have all the things. I think it's just called well, I've heard it called an umbrella because it collapses like an umbrella, right? But it looks like this weird, crazy thing. Swift. It's a Swift. Thank you. I was thinking chimney swift. That's what I don't know. So, yeah, you would take the hank and then put it on the Swift and then, turn your ball winder and the Swift will turn at the same time. And that's a lot easier than what I do, which is usually put it around the arms of a chair or have Zach help me. So, but once you have plied your yarn, you put it on a niddy nutty, which is this thing. Yeah. And this is what you use to wash the yarn. So it's not real yarn until you've washed it. And washing it in hot water makes the singles stick together better. So this one is ready to go in the bathtub in the hottest water that I can put it in. And then I will go ahead and you take it off when it's done, and then it's a hank. So you see how I've got these tied up? So yes, I sous vide the yarn. And what it does is allows the tiny little scales in the hair to open up and will cause the little fibers to hold on to each other. So it's basically felting, but not really felting because you don't really want it to felt. But it's the same thing of when felting happens. Okay, so incidentally, this is yarn that I made from the sample that Ashford sent me when they sent me my wheel. So they had an ounce of the white, an ounce of the orange, 100% merino, and I spun it together and it's ready to be washed. So this is just a 2-ply barber pole style. And I don't know what I'm going to use it for because it's not really enough to do anything with. But it's ready to be washed. So, and like anything else, you can buy the nitty nutty, but it's hella expensive if you buy a wooden one. And I like the plastic one because, well, first of all, it was cheap. I made it myself. But I could actually just stick it in the water. It makes it a lot easier to wash the yarn. So, and I didn't even talk about dyeing yet. But you can also dye the yarn. You could also just dye the wool. Dye it in the wool. And spin dyed wool that way. The options are endless. It just depends on what you're trying to achieve. Okay, I'm not going to bother pre-drafting this one because I'm doing too much pre-drafting. Let's see. So when I start classes, because one of the things I want to do is teach a class called From Shearing to Wearing. Get it? Because it's spelled the same. Where I actually take people out to shear the sheep and where we skirt the fleece and we wash the fleece and do the entire process and then spin it. Here's the problem. I only have one spinning wheel. So my friend Lisa and I are going to try to build our own out of bicycle wheels and PVC pipe. So if that's something that you're interested in trying to do as well, if you want to try building your own spinning wheel on a budget, then you are welcome to join us as we try to figure out what that would entail. So ideally, I mean, it would be super awesome if the students could build their own as part of the class, because then you become really familiar with how the thing works. Oh, do they? Hmm. Yeah, this spinning wheel, the one that I'm using, the Ashford Traditional, is like $850. You can get ones, like you can get a Louette that is not as expensive, but I wanted a pretty one. I wanted a really nice one. And Ashford is like the probably the most famous brand. Let's see. Oh, I'm almost done with this um, bit here. So, which is to say the bobbin is almost full. Oh yeah? Yeah, I don't know how any of this crap works. I didn't train to be an entrepreneur. I trained to be a professor, and that didn't turn out so well. But I mean, part of the reason why I want to have the school is so that I can keep teaching because I really like teaching. I don't think I want to teach teachers anymore because I was just getting I was burnt out. But I would really enjoy teaching spinning. Look at this little piece that came off, a little bastard. That's okay. We're gonna connect this on first, and then once that's connected, like that, and then I'm gonna connect this one. And again, I'm not looking to make a lot of money. Um, that's what Zach's for. But I do want to try to, contribute as much as I can. Ideally, I would be making enough money to pay for farm operations so that we can be self-sustaining. And if I make enough money to do that, I will be overjoyed. Oh wow, cool. So another thing that my friend Lisa and I are planning on doing, and she knows more about this because she is the artist, is to start an artist residency on the farm. And so for a while we were like, oh, that's great and everything, but where the hell are people going to stay? So first of all, have you ever heard of an artist residency? It is basically when you have an artist or multiple artists usually come and stay at a place, and they work on their own art and they work on collaborations while they're in that place. So Lisa, for instance, and her husband, who is a poet, they just went and did an artist residency in Santa Fe, and they stayed there for 6 weeks. And they worked with other artists. I don't remember what their theme was, but it's something that she does quite a lot. She also began her own artist residency at the University of Iowa, working at their field station. So she actually set that one up. So she has experience setting up these artist residencies, and she is pretty gung ho about making one at Lark Farm. Great, yeah. Um, so we were like, well, that's fantastic. I don't know where they're going to stay because I don't think they're going to want to live in the house. particularly because I'd be poking my head in every 5 minutes going like, what are you guys doing? What are you working on? So this is actually kind of a long story, but trying to shorten the story is that Lisa is very, very interested in tiny homes. And her dream is to eventually have one, that she can drive around and, you know, park on the farm and come visit me. And she was looking at those tiny teardrop camping trailers that you can pull behind your car. And she was like, well, if we can make tiny homes out of wood, and they're inexpensive, why couldn't we make trailers out of wood? And she got this crazy idea to build these wooden trailers and call them turtles. And so then she told me about it, and I got excited about it. I was like, oh my God, because we could build different models and name them after different turtle species in North American turtle species. So like the smallest one would be the spotted turtle, and like map turtle would be the mid-sized one, and we could have snapping turtle be like the biggest one, but then the even bigger than that, like a deluxe would be an alligator snapping turtle. And they would all be built by hand, and um, some of the proceeds would actually go towards turtle and wetland conservation, and we would include information about the different species with the actual, it's not a vehicle, what would you call it, trailer thing. um, so she wants to build the prototype here, and I don't know when this is happening. Soon. She has a sabbatical coming up, actually, and she already has one of her students who is an art student or art major who is an artist, who wants to stay in the trailer and be the first artist at the residency on the farm. So that's all very exciting. I don't know if it'll come to fruition, but it sure sounds fun. So we might have an artist residency. And, I've also thought about doing like youth groups, and bringing school groups through, and after school programs and volunteer stuff, and who knows. I'm going to do all the things. And why not? I want to, so I'm gonna. I still have lots of contacts at MSU. Anyways, it's all a lot more fun than sitting in an office all day long and grading papers and trying to write manuscripts that no one's ever going to read, and grants that nobody wants to fund, and getting yelled at by your chair. None of that's fun, turns out. It's just very stressful. Turns out I was never very good at getting grants funded. I mean, that's not entirely true. The grants that I did get funded were for teaching and teacher professional development. I was very good at getting those funded, but those are like very small pots of money. We're talking like $10,000. I was on a couple of $1 million grants, and none of those got funded. And if you don't get funding, you don't get tenure. So, I mean, and all that's kind of moot anyway because they decided to close my program. But I couldn't imagine getting another assistant professorship at another university. I just couldn't handle it. It's a very unforgiving field where the expectation is that is it's not a job, right? It's your life. So that's stupid. It's a job. Uh-oh. Yeah, sometimes grant funding falls through. Actually, it falls through a lot. There are so many people competing for funding these days that the odds of actually getting funding is something like not very good. I don't know what it is exactly. Not likely. I mean, I know people who just like all they do is write grants. Oh, I don't want that life. It's like maybe if I cared more. I just don't care that much. I care about knitting more than I care about writing grants to get stuff done. I wrote a grant for a research project that I was the principal investigator on. And it was to develop an educational software learning tool for teaching and learning about climate change. And I was super excited about this thing. And it was going to be the greatest thing ever. And it was designed off of what I had worked on for my dissertation, which was on evolution. And it did not get funded. And so, they're like, oh, don't give it up. Keep trying. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not going to keep trying because the group of people that I had working with me who were all experienced people, and actually one of the people, Sarah Green, have you heard about the 97% of scientists say that climate change is real and that humans are causing it? There's a paper out there that is very famous for stating this, and it was on like um, Jon Stewart's show and Colbert and stuff like that. Sarah Green, who was one of the people on this grant for the climate change module, was one of the authors on that paper, on the 97% paper. So if we can't get it funded when we have those kind of people working on it, it's not going to get funded. And actually, I think part of the reason why it didn't get funded is because of the current fucking administration. Because they don't want to fund work that has anything to do with climate change. And NSF, who we were applying to, is a federal agency. So, but I was really excited about that project. There was another project that, again, Lisa and I worked on together that did get funded. That was about trying to reduce. It was a collaboration between science and engineering and art to reduce bird strikes on windows. And that didn't get funded. It's like, if these are amazing projects that amazing people are working on, and if you don't get the funding, you can't work on the project. So you spend all that time digging up resources to make sure that you'll be able to do the thing and developing prototypes, and then you don't get funded, and it's like some people will just keep on following it, and eventually, they might get funded, but most of those projects don't get funded. It's super frustrating. That's when you go to the private sector to get a what are they called? Not a grant. I can't remember what they're called. Anyway, like get the foundation funding. So like the other one that I was working on that I was a a co-principal investigator on the MyStar project, which I ended up getting kicked off of. Anyway, that was funded by Dow, and that was a $5 million project that did get funded. So the only big funded project that I was ever part of, I ended up getting kicked off of because there were just many disagreements between me and the people who were running the thing. And incidentally, I was the only person on the project who had any background in education. I'm not bitter. I'm really, maybe a little bit. Maybe I'm a little bit bitter. Boy, I hope none of those people are watching this. They're not. I don't care anyway. I don't work there anymore. But you know, yeah, that would be embarrassing. Actually, it wouldn't. I mean, I don't care. The people who mattered to me already knew how I felt about stuff. So I had talked to Zach though about, I said he should try to see if Vertifor will hire me to do team building and training because I am qualified to do that. Well versed in team theory, it turns out. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by and hanging out. It's better than talking to myself. We'll have to definitely like hang out in person on an evening that's not Monday night trivia. So. Look at that. Isn't that nice? Whoops. Okay, well that's done. I'm gonna. I really do want to fill up this bobbin. So I'm gonna get another arm's length. And I'm also gonna go get myself another drink. I want to try the juniper junk. The mind melder or whatever it's called. So I will be right back. So don't go anywhere. I don't have a be right back screen, but I'll be getting one. So I'll be right back. Kitty's not allowed in here. Kitty's not allowed in here. Okay, I'm back. I'm back and I got some of this. So this is a new beer for me. I don't know if you can read it. It is Shorts Brewing Company. Melt My Brain. It is golden brewed with coriander, juniper berries, and lime with tonic water. So it smells interesting. I'm gonna cleanse my palate. Got some water here. Okay, let's see. It's only 4% alcohol by volume, so wow. It's very sweet. Um, it's actually more lime than anything. Kind of tastes like a wine cooler. Frankly, it doesn't taste like a lot like beer at all. It's okay. I was gonna do. I want to fill up this bobbin. Um, before I start plying. So I've got my. I wonder how much is left. Probably a half pound. And this is, oh, it smells so good. I don't know if you like the smell of sheep. I like the smell of sheep. Um, particularly sheep that have been washed. So this smells like bathed sheep, right? It's interesting. There's like a cut right there. Oh, anyway, so I'm actually going to take a bit longer piece so that I don't have to spend as much time attaching it. So this is the fun part, right? I'm gonna pull it apart. Try to get both my hands under there. You just pull. Look at that. Oh, hello. Ah. Okay. And so then I put the rest in my bag. So this is a Ashland Bay Corriedale Cross Roving, 1 pound. So it's been crossbred, but it doesn't say with what. The Corriedale breed hail originally from Australia and New Zealand, where farmers crossed merino ewes. So merino is the breed that everybody, like the go-to breed for yarn, right? With Lincoln or Leicester rams. So like Lincoln Longhair. So it sounds like they did a merino with a longer hair animal. So the Corriedale Cross has a beautiful natural luster. I would agree to that. With an almost white or ecru natural color, a long staple length, and definite crimp. This wool is perfect for beginner and advanced spinners alike. Perfect for dyeing and felting. I agree. I love it. Maybe one day I'll get myself some Corriedale. Frankly, I just want sheep. I don't really care what kind of sheep I get. As long as they're not hair sheep, then I can use their wool to make yarn. And that's really all I'm interested in right now. So, okay. So, let us continue, shall we? You know, I've actually heard of people actually just using roving as yarn. A little weird, but I suppose you could do that if you wanted to. So we're just going to peel off some. keep the excess on my lap. So where are we? I'm going to keep it on this hook, actually. And this is always my favorite part, is twisting this part on. And just start drafting it out. So I'm listening to the Amazon station meditation. It's the meditation station. It's got this new agey music that you'd listen to sort of if you were like at a massage parlor or something. And it's kind of nice. I didn't know what else to listen to, so I don't know if the mic is picking it up, so you guys probably can't hear it. But eventually I'll get my whole thing set up and I'll play music and whatnot, so that this will be much more entertaining for you guys to listen to and watch. But there is something very satisfying and meditative about watching somebody spin yarn from wool. And it's an ancient art that not many people do. And I'm glad to be one of them. I'm not a spiritual person at all. But something about doing this and something about the idea of homesteading and permaculture and living off the land is as close to spirituality I think as I get. I just love it. Okay, so I'm stopping because, see, I've got this big lump in the middle. I'm ready to move to the next hook. So I'm also kind of over twisting because I'm going too fast. But that's okay. We have, okay, so I did something you're never supposed to do. And that is, you never let twist get into your supply. This is the supply. And if it gets too twisty, then you can't draft anymore. I mean, the whole point of twisting is so that it keeps the fibers together. So, so you can see how this is, it's not bad actually. This is a pretty good twist. See how it's, if you let it go, it goes like this. So if you only get one of these little twisties off the end, you're doing pretty good. If you have twisties all over the place, you're way over twisted. And it's going to be really difficult to manage. So this isn't so bad, but it's still a little bit too twisted. So what you can do is just draft out some and hold back with your thumb the supply so that it doesn't get into your supply, and just hold it taut and let go, and it'll twist right up and you'll get rid of a lot of that twist. So there's no, this is great. This is perfect. That's exactly what we want to see. So now I'm going to pinch it. I'm going to go again and continue drafting. Maybe if I wasn't talking so much. So I'm not sure who's viewing now, but if you have any questions, you let me know. I'm also going to be posting these videos to my brand spanking new YouTube channel. And if you have questions, you can post to the videos too. So my idea is to have just a conversation with people about what it is I'm doing and why I'm doing it. You have a question. Okay, let's see. I learned on a drop spindle. Actually, you can even learn by getting some wool, and you can create a little tiny hook, or even, you know what? Do you have a crochet hook? Because if you have a crochet hook, you can make yarn. So what you would do is to take a little bit of the yarn and hook a little piece, and then you roll it. You would take your palm. I wish I could show you how to do it right now. I guess I can. I'm not really in a position to do so right now. You know, I'll have to do like an instructional video or something on how to do it. But the way before wheels or drop spindles were invented, and granted, those things are both wheels and drop spindles are ancient, right? The way that they used to do it was by taking a hook, a very simple hook, probably made from a stick or something, and you would draft out some of the wool and wrap the end around your crochet hook, and then push with your hand, your palm against your leg, and twist the yarn. And then you would move on and do some more, and move on and do some more. So the beginner way to do it is to just do that. And what that'll do for you is to give you practice with drafting, which is probably the hardest part, is learning how to draft consistently so that you get a yarn that is the same width throughout, and just to get an idea of like what it looks like, what it feels like, and what you're going for. Then I would move from hand rolling to a drop spindle. And my first drop spindle I literally made from a piece of round cardboard that I cut out with a hole in it, and I stuck a pencil through it, and I got one of those, like a little eye hook that I had laying around in a framing kit. Um, like we have a bunch of stuff for hanging pictures, and I took one of those eyes and I screwed it into the eraser of the pencil, and that was enough to make a drop spindle. So I practiced with that because I wasn't sure at that point if I really wanted to start investing in spinning in everything that it entailed. But it turns out it was pretty fun. And then after that, I actually bought a drop spindle off of Amazon for like $7. You can get them really, really cheap. And I found that I could make, in fact, I'll show you. I'll show you the first yarn that I made on a drop spindle. But you can't laugh. You gotta promise that. Does top whorl or bottom whorl make a difference? Not really. You're gonna get the same product. It just depends on what you feels more comfortable to you. I used a top whorl. Okay, so I know I have it. Okay, this is funny. So this is the first yarn I ever made. And it's a mess, right? And I'm not going to use it for anything. I've sort of just got it as a reminder. So I made this on my drop spindle. And you can see like there's parts where it's huge and parts where it's super tight, and it's a mess, right? But it's mine and I did it. So this I made with that drop spindle that I made out of the cardboard and the pencil and stuff. And then I've got this, and you see it looks a lot better. This I made from the drop spindle that I bought off of Amazon for $7. You see how much better it looks? So I did something called a draft and park method, where because I never could figure out how to use the drop spindle so that it was spinning continuously and I was drafting out. I would never got that good at the drop spindle. But so I did draft and park, and I made this, and it's not perfect. But it's a lot more consistent. I mean, this is perfectly good. I could knit with this. Yeah, I don't either. Well, you have to like toss the supply over your shoulder and draft out. Um, but I mean, I think it's very much worth learning how to do that, even if you never go back to using a drop spindle. And you can get them, like I said, on you can get a hand carved drop spindle on Amazon for $7 or something. So, in fact, I have my drop spindle around here somewhere. It is, where the heck would it be? Here it is. And it even actually has some stuff on it. So this is the drop spindle that I ended up purchasing. I don't think that the one that I made exists anymore. So you can see I had a little bit on there. And it literally is just a stick with, you know, some sort of circular disc and a hook at the top. That's it. You can use this to make yarn. So some people are so fast at drop spindles that they can make yarn just as fast as a wheel. I am not one of those people. But anyway, I enjoyed making yarn enough that I decided to spend the money on getting a wheel. And so I actually took a lesson on a Louette wheel, which is one of the uprights. So the wheel is actually above the spindle rather than being off to the side. But I really wanted a traditional wheel. And if you want traditional, Ashford is really the way to go. They're in Australia, and they hand carve all of their wheels, and then they'll ship it to you. But this wheel costs $850. So crazy expensive. Worth it for me because it's something that I knew that I was going to be doing and that I was going to basically turn into my job. But definitely not for everybody. So it just depends. The other thing you can do is there are electric wheels. There was a Kickstarter to make a very affordable electric wheel. And you can't spin a ton of yarn on it. But it is affordable. And it eliminates the use of the treadle because it's powered by a motor rather than powered by your foot. And I was looking at those for a while because at first I didn't know if I wanted to put all the money into a traditional wheel. But they look pretty cool. And I've actually looked at some videos of people doing them on YouTube. And so the people who use them seem to be very happy with them. But I really wanted a Cinderella type looking wheel. Now, I also have been looking on like Craigslist and stuff because sometimes you can find, or if you go to antique stores, You can find like the old-fashioned ones with the huge wheels. I would love to have one of those one day, or just to restore one, but I have no idea where I would put it because they are huge. I mean, but they all operate on the same basic physics, so. So do you knit and crochet? Because I know there's some people who usually just do one or the other. And I do both, but I started out as a knitter. Yeah, I'd say do what you want. If you're really into yarn and you want to learn about spinning, then totally invest in a drop spindle and give it a whirl. You can get a pound of roving, which is prepared wool, $20 on Amazon. So there's no reason why you couldn't just, even for fun, buy a bag of wool and uh, buy or make your own drop spindle and just try it for a while. Oh, really? They do have some hypoallergenic species or breeds, but I'm not sure what those are. Yeah, I have a friend who was here earlier, and he actually he has huskies. Well, let's see here. He's got a husky mix, and Alara is a giant dog. I don't know. What is she? I think she's a giant Malamute. And so he's like, could you actually spin their wool or their undercoats? And I was like, yeah, I could. I always wondered if you couldn't just get acrylic to spin. But if you can, I'm not sure about that. But yeah, I'm. You could do silk, you could do bamboo, or a lot of the other fibers that are more hypoallergenic. Fortunately, I'm not allergic to animal dander or anything. That would be a real problem because I have cats and dogs, and so right now I don't have sheep, um, but I'm this close to getting my own sheep. So we just moved a month ago. I was up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and we moved down more toward the middle of the state, and we bought a farm. So we have this farm that has 8 acres with the whole purpose of, well, doing permaculture, but part of that is starting a fiber farm. So I want to start with sheep, but I would also really love to have Angora rabbits and maybe goats. So, oh, you have chinchillas? So we went to the county fair yesterday because they do rabbits. Like, I'm getting a message. Hello? Yeah? Yeah, the dog's outside. Okay. What do you want me to do? In a little bit. All right. Bye. We just got the Amazon Echoes. We've never had those before. So I like that we can sort of page each other. Anyway, yeah, so I went to the county fair and we were looking at rabbits and they only had 2 French Angoras. But I'm glad that I got to see them because I've never seen one in person before. So I don't know where I'm going to get them from, but I ultimately want to raise Angora rabbits in addition to the sheep, um, so I can make lots of different blends and stuff. They have Angora chinchillas? Oh, that's so great. Maybe I'll have to get chinchillas too. We have also talked about llamas and um, the little guys. Oh my gosh, alpacas. But they're very expensive. So I don't know. I don't know what'll happen. We'll see what we can do. How are we? Oh, good. We're almost done. This is almost a full bobbin. I will have to go in a second, not for good, but I have to go get the dog because he's outside yelling at something. We know that we have, well, there are deer in the area, but there's also coyotes. And I don't think a coyote would take on my dogs. I have 2 basset hounds, and they're both 55 pounds. But it could be what he's barking at. Or he might just be barking at nothing because he's kind of dumb. I can imagine. I'm going to have to go look up Angora chinchillas. Yeah, there were a couple of Jersey woolly rabbits at the fair too, but I've heard that those don't really provide enough wool to make it worth it. So it's really got to be Angoras. The other thing we want is to start our chickens. And we have some friends who keep chickens, so they're going to help us out with that. But we don't have a coop yet. So that is one of the next things on our list. Is to get some chickens. My ultimate goal, I'm stuck on something here. Oh, it was underneath my foot, actually. That's no good. Anyway, my ultimate goal is to try to just produce as much food for my family as I can. And then anything that's left over I can sell either at the farmer's market or just directly from my house. And there are a lot of people around here who do that. You drive up and down the road and people have signs out in front of their houses that say brown eggs and meat lambs and vegetables and firewood and all kinds of stuff. So it's kind of cool. The community is very much a farming community. And we're only minutes outside of Lansing. So it's pretty cool. And Lansing's not a huge city, but it is the capital of Michigan. So it's not a tiny city. So the goal is to keep your hands moving fast. Slow feet, fast hands. And my feet are still too fast, but see this is doing really well. It's almost full. So, and I know my husband wants me to go get the dog, but I'll go get the dog in a second. And then I'll take a little break. Okay, I've got a little bit of schmutz here that I don't want to make it into the yarn. Where did it go? So sometimes you find stuff like that, which is probably just a little piece of vegetable matter that was on the animal that just didn't get washed out. So if you find something like that, you just drop it. You vacuum it up later. Of course, I make sure that no animals can get into this room either, because the cats would probably eat it and get hairballs. They have enough hairballs. You can leave it as a single. It really depends on what you're wanting to use it for. You can knit and crochet with singles, which would just be this. I am going to ply these because plying gives it some stability and really evens out any inconsistencies. So there's going to be parts of this, because it's hand spun, it's not commercially made on a machine. There's going to be parts that are thinner and some parts that are thicker, and plying it together really does sort of minimize that, or it makes it so you can't even notice any inconsistencies. So I usually only do 2-ply, but you can, so I have a Lazy Kate that can hold up to 3 bobbins. So I could do up to 3-ply. And the key to plying is you just go in the opposite direction that you used to spin the singles, and then they basically hold themselves together. And so some people have, they'll twist the belt on their wheel or get a special plying belt. I just go in the opposite direction. So I spin counterclockwise. I spin clockwise. I ply counter or anti-clockwise. That's part of the reason why I really want to teach classes on from all the way from shearing the animal to wearing the garment, so that people can get a good idea of the amount of work that goes into making a garment. I think that we really take for granted the clothes that we wear and expect them to be relatively cheap. But I think if everybody knew just how much time and effort it took, we might appreciate them more. Yeah, me too. It takes a long time, but man, to know that you made something, it gives me chills. Like, I used to feel that way just about knitting in general, and it has only gotten to be more so since I started making my own yarn, which I have not been doing for that long. I mean, I got the wheel around Christmas last year, so I've not even been spinning for a whole year. And I haven't done a ton of dyeing yet. So just like anything else, the professional dyes can be a bit expensive. So actually, the first thing I bought were Wilton cake dyes. Um, which work, but the color is quite light. Today I actually went to Michael's and bought some actual fabric dye, the kind that you would use if you were going to do tie dyeing. Still not the most expensive wool dye on the market, but I want to see what that does, what kind of result we get, and if I get some more vibrant colors. I think I am going to try for a 3-ply yarn this time, because I haven't done it yet. Or not. I mean, I have some yarn on my bobbins over there. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with. Okay. I need to go get my dog. And I'm also gonna go to the restroom, but I will be back. So you just hang out and I'll be right back. Dogs are running around like maniacs upstairs. I don't know if you can hear them, but. Thank you for the follow. Is there a standard for how many ply to make certain yarn weights? I don't know. So I'm looking at the yarn I have now. I'd say most of them are 4-ply. And I've got a lot of different yarns here. I've got too much yarn. I'd say most of them are 4-ply. Let me look at this. So I've got some worsted weight over here. That's 4-ply. And then I have sock weight that's 4-ply. They went outside and then they came inside and now they're running around like idiots. So I was also gonna say though, I have so look, I have this yarn that I got from Darn Good Yarn. And it's a single. This is just a single. So somebody spun it. And I made a sweater with it. It's 100% merino. And I ended up accidentally throwing the sweater in the laundry. And now it's about this big. I've got it around here somewhere. I'm going to turn it into a pillow, I think. Anyway, it was fun to knit. Okay, I wanted to check, see. I think I'm going to do one more length. And then I'm going to, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do. So I have some merino left on another bobbin. I think I'm just going to pull that off there. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to do one more. Hello. This has a cut in it. Huh. So this is actually, I don't know if you can see. It's interesting. This made it into the roving. This is actual part of, this is like a part of a lock from the sheep. What's interesting about that is you can actually see what it would look like if it came off the sheep. It's a part of a lock anyway. So it's about that long. It's kind of fun. All right. Not useful to me. So I'm going to pre-draft this out a little bit. So I used to stream on Twitch all the time before all the business with my job got hairy. And then we started to decide what we were going to do with our lives. So I was an assistant professor of science education at Michigan Technological University. And they closed my department and other stuff happened. But well, not department, it's a program. So they closed my program. We were the Division of Education. And so essentially my job was eliminated. So we moved back to the Lansing area. because my husband has been working for the same company down here. So we were up in the UP for about 5 years, and he was just working remotely during that time. So he decided he wanted to move back down here so he could actually go to work, like go into work, instead of having to do it over the computer. And I said, okay. But I said, if we're moving back to Lansing, you have to buy me a farm. And he did. And I said, I'm going to be a farmer. And that's what I'm trying to do. Maybe a little more than just a farmer, but farmer, entrepreneur, teacher. Homesteader. All around person who does stuff. Oops. Okay. So I just had I don't know if you saw that happen. I accidentally dropped it a little bit. And so a bit of the twist, I lost it for a second and it got into the supply, which you don't want to happen because then you won't be able to draft. So it's easy enough to fix. You just pull it out and then kind of let it go until you get back to something like this. So then I can start spinning again. So yarn is pretty, wool is pretty forgiving. I'm still going too fast. I just have this tendency to go too fast with my foot. I don't know why. I'm not in a hurry. I guess it's Friday already. I don't know where the week went. That's such an old person thing to say. I'm gonna be 40 this year, so I guess I'm allowed to talk like that. You young whippersnappers. Okay. So I just had something called a break. See how that broke? This is not a problem. 40 is not old. Okay, well, 40 kind of feels old. So if you have a break, you just kind of fluff up the end that broke off, start your wheel again, and then you just touch that end to the part where it broke off and it just wraps around, and then you just keep going. Oh, and I have like an honest to God break over here because it just happened to fall off my lap. So we're getting to be down to the end anyway. Okay. Anyway, this is my favorite part. I just love touching. You touch it to there, and it'll wrap around. It's so fun. I mean, when I first started on the drop spindle, and even on the wheel, though I would say I picked up the wheel really fast. It just kind of feels natural. But I was breaking my yarn all the time and getting frustrated with it and stuff. But, you know, after you do it a few times, it doesn't take long to start figuring it out. And, like I like to say, I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's supposed to look funky. It's hand spun. That makes it special. I mean, you make a yarn by hand from an animal, and there's no yarn like it in the world because you made it. So, and every time you make a yarn, it's going to be a little bit different. It's not something you can buy in a store. I mean, unless I sold it in a store, which I'm not going to because I'm never going to be able to make that much yarn. But I don't mind selling little bits here and there, like at a farmer's market or whatever. Okay, so we're getting into the end. And so we just let it wind down and wrap the rest up. And I'm just going to let it go for a little bit longer. Make sure it's good and wrapped. And then I'm going to just go crazy and let it go. So it is now all wrapped up on the bobbin. That bobbin is full. So I just set my other stuff off to the side. And I guess I'll show you what how to start a new bobbin. But so once it gets to, there's two sides of the bobbin. The smaller is on the inside and the larger is on the outside. Excuse me. Once whatever's on the bobbin gets to be about the width of the smaller side, you don't want to go much more, because if you were to fill it up more than that, it can actually start to spill over the side, and that's bad news because it can get wrapped around the spindle and you don't want that happening. So I need to take this bobbin off. So the first thing to do is to release the tension on the drive band, and interestingly, the drive band is literally just a string. So it's broken on me a couple times. You just get a new string. So it's nothing expensive or anything. So there's a little knob down here. You probably can't see it because there we go. This knob. I turn it, and it's going to release the tension on this string here. And then I'm going to just pull it off and let that go. There we go. And then I take the flywheel out, and then this comes off the end, this piece, and the bobbin comes off. So this is full of a single of spun wool. And it's soft, and it smells good, and I love it. And that's, I mean, it's, I don't know if you can see it very well, but it's super consistent. Not completely. There's going to be some parts that are slightly thicker and thinner, but when I do another bobbin and ply those two together, you will not know. Yeah, it's soft too. Can you see how it's kind of squishy? Squish, squish, squish. It feels nice. It just feels, I just want to hold it. So, all right. So I'm going to start another one. I happen to have one right here. I'm actually going to put a new leader string on that. Cut this old one off. So I've been using this pink sock yarn. as my leader. So you just get a piece of string or another piece of yarn. It doesn't have to be super long. Well, I don't know if you can see this, but it's all over my pants. It was a really great idea to wear dark pants. So you tie the leader yarn onto the bobbin, or use a slip knot, except my slip knots have been coming undone lately. Okay. So then we're going to put that back on the flywheel. You always put the small side in first. Unless you're doing fast spinning, which... So I do not pretend to be a master of this at all. I haven't even been doing it for a year yet. So there's other things that I haven't learned yet. But so after you apply them together, how do you get them off the bobbin? Aha! Well, I don't have time to do that tonight, but there's this thing called a Lazy Kate. I don't know why it has that name. So the bobbins go on here, and then they can spin freely. And so you put your 2 bobbins or 3 bobbins, however many singles you have, and you put it off to the side, and then you're going to spin it onto a new bobbin. So actually the number of plies that you can do are going to be limited by the size of your Lazy Kate, and they make them bigger than this. So you could have one that has 4, 5, 6 bobbins at a time. Mine only holds 3. And this is the one this actually came with the wheel, so it's kind of nice. So if I wanted to do more, I'd have to get a Lazy Kate that holds more. And you're also kind of limited by the size of the bobbin that you're going to be plying onto, because it won't be able to hold as much, right? So they do have jumbo bobbins for thicker yarns. So no, that's not at all a silly question, because I wouldn't have known either. In fact, I didn't know until I started all this. I have wool all over me right now. I'm gonna have to vacuum tomorrow. And one of the cool things about this house that we moved into is that it's got a built-in vacuum, like an internal vacuum system. So that's really handy to have. I don't know. I'm sure there are good books on it. I purchased a book called... What is the book called? Respect the Spindle. And I'm not sure who that's by, but it's basically just an introduction to all the different kinds of spinning. So I did read that book before I decided to buy the wheel, and also because it has information on using a drop spindle, which I had purchased. So Respect the Spindle is a good one, and there's lots of others out there. But mostly I learned by watching YouTube videos. So, and I hope that my YouTube videos will also help other people. Though ideally I will make some higher quality videos eventually. Okay, so I'm gonna start another bobbin so that later on I can come back and ply these 2 together. So I have my empty bobbin on the flywheel, and then we put it back in. We engage the drive band, and then turn this to go back. Try to keep my head out of the picture here. All right. So you can do a single drive or a double drive, and I do double drive, which means that I have my drive band on both the spindle or the flywheel and on the, what you call it, the bobbin. And I don't know why, that's just the way I learned how to do it, so. Okay. And then we tighten it up again, which I'm doing the wrong direction. Come on. Okay. So it doesn't have to be super tight. Oh, hold on, it popped off on the bottom here. You do have to make sure that it's like wrapped all the way around the wheel. There we go. Are we on there? We're not on the wheel. Come on. Come on, guys. Let's get our act together. So we look like we know what we're doing. Get on there. There we go. See, I know I got it because it started turning. And I'm going in the wrong direction. Okay, so that's probably tight enough. And if you want to give it a spin to make sure it's working, there you go. All right. So you take your leader yarn and you put it on the first hook. So these hooks, basically you move the single or the yarn as you're spinning it to load the bobbin evenly. And then you have this little hook down here and you go through this orifice and pull your leader yarn through. So I'm not going to do much more of this, but I will show you what it looks like when you get started with a new one. So it's basically now just what I was doing before. So I've got my my roving. I'm going to make sure it's not twisted and pull off a piece. And I'm going to do a little bit of pre-drafting just to make sure it's all nice and laying flat and parallel. Okay. And even if you're using a drop spindle, you would still be using a leader yarn that you would just tie to the drop spindle. And I'm not going to use this part because I'm only going to, we'll do this last piece and then, because it's late now, I will stop. So I'm holding on to my leader yarn, just like I would if I was taking off a new piece of roving. I'm going to start the wheel. So that's going to spin. And it's going to draw it in. And then I'm going to touch this to it. And you can see it's starting to wrap around. And then I just start drafting out. It's going to sound a little weird at first because I don't know if it's picking up the sound because it's empty. And that is all there is to it. And now I'm spinning. Slow feet, fast hands, slow feet, fast hands. I have the tension a little bit too tight, so it's really like trying to rip it out of my hands. But it's okay. And so we'll just go to the end of this piece and I'll leave it, the rest of it for tomorrow. So I'd say you can probably, if you're really concentrating on it, get easily do a hank in about an hour, hour and a half. Now, people who are better at spinning than me probably are much faster than that. and I will get faster as I get better, but I'm still pretty much a beginner. So with this Corriedale wool, you actually have to have your hands much farther apart because the fibers are very long. So if I was doing something like merino or even the Icelandic, my hands would be closer together. Alexa, stop music. I gotta go to bed. So if you had a good time, thanks for stopping by. I will definitely be getting things better as I get up and running again. Um, hold on a second. It got all buggery right at the end. There we go. But I'll be adding more content very soon. I'm also getting a website that will be up and running pretty soon. Um, so just, keep an eye out if you're interested in learning more about spinning, and I'll be doing crochet and knitting and all kinds of stuff. So thanks for stopping by, and see you guys next time. And thanks for the follow. Bye-bye.